Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the STEM Girls Talk Show. So, today we are going to be talking about the universe of physics. We have with us two amazing professors, one professor and one scientist from the field of physics, who is going to be talking to us about physics. So, physics is the world with no end to it. We have modern physics that basically studies the extremes of the universe. A few fun facts about it are basically that you can easily fit the whole human race in a sugar cube if you want, because all the atoms that we are made of is 99.99999% empty space. Physics deals with extreme ranges. You can talk from subatomic matters to galaxies. So that's the range we're talking about. And in the world of quantum physics, we can have past, present, future all occurring simultaneously. So, a few quick facts about where we stand for women in science
Okay.
is that physics itself is what
Oh yeah, sure.
on the bottom of the list of
Then
professions and degrees that women choose to graduate in, which
what
is
what go?
something very disturbing for us, and it's a huge and amazing field. And to date with us are two experts of the field who are going to talk to us and tell us how what their journeys have been like. We have with us Professor Rabia, who is an atmospheric physicist, and we have with us Aderonke, who's also in atmospheric research. We also have with us Taimey, who is going to be helping us introduce going to help us interview the two professors. Taimey, I'm going to hand over the mic to you, and would you please start the question answer sessions?
So, can you please explain briefly what your field is and what to do?
Okay, good morning, everyone. From here, it's morning. So, but whatever time it is, welcome everyone to this session of mentoring of girls talk show. Yeah, I'm Rabia Sa'id. I'm a professor of physics. I got promoted to a full professor just in October 2019. And what I do is I actually just say I teach physics. I teach physics, and I've been teaching physics at the university at undergraduate level from 1999 when I became a graduate assistant. And it took me a long time along the journey, 20 years until 2019 to become a full professor. And I ended up specializing in atmospheric physics because that was the topic of my PhD. I tried to look at what the impact of dust aerosols, because I live in the north, and in northern Nigeria there's a lot of dust. And then with the issue of climate change, I wanted to look at what impacts dust aerosols in the atmosphere actually have on climate change, and whether they contribute to the warming or they mitigate part of the warming. So that was what I did. And but at the same time, I teach all the aspects of physics in the university, like I do at the undergraduate level, first year, second year undergraduate students. I teach mechanics, the behavior of matter, and then also some other ionosphere, atmospheres, all the basics of physics.
Okay, thank you. So, Professor Aderonke, can you please answer the same question? Like in a few words, just explain to us briefly what you do and your field.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very excited to be to feature in this platform, and I really must appreciate and acknowledge someone who I call my mentor and my mother. It was just a pleasant surprise to see her on the show. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Prof, for always being ready with your arms open wide, to encourage us young girls, to pursue career in STEM. So I'll go straight to the question. I'll answer the question by saying that basically what I do is research. I work with the Nigerian Space Research and Development Agency and under the Center for Atmospheric Research. And I would say I'm an ionospheric physicist. And what I do basically is I want to understand what happens in the ionosphere. The ionosphere is just the upper part of the atmosphere where we live in. So if you travel some distance away from where you live, that's what I'm interested in. I want to know what exactly happens over there and how it affects our lives here on Earth. So those are part of what makes up our activities, even in the center and the laboratories that we operate under the Center for Atmospheric Research. So we really typically just want to understand how the behaviors and the dynamics that takes place in the ionosphere, how they affect communication, how they affect our day-to-day lives, how they affect how we interact with our friends and our loved ones, and to see how it affects air travels, rail travels, navigation, precision, agriculture, and all that. So basically, that is what we do to try to understand what goes on in the ionosphere and how it affects us here on Earth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I asked if you've always been interested in physics when you were little, or you just developed it now.
In a house where my father, used to house so many books. I was taught my fancy was by Carl Sagan, and I just kept reading to understand, astrophysics, what happens, all and the above us, the stars, the sky. But at that point, I really didn't understand what I was doing. I was just reading for fun. And it was up until when I got to my SS2 in secondary school, I realized, oh, okay, physics has this branch that, talks about exosphere, talks about layers of the atmosphere. And then I just got interested. And to crown it up, my dad used to have a friend who is a professor of physics, though retired. And each time we go to his house, I get to engage him in discussion. And then he just tries to sell physics to me. And I think I just got interested and I decided to go for it.
Okay, so when you were in school or college, did the boys did they make fun of you or something like that?
Yes,
Because
one very interesting trend I noticed all along was that we were always the minority. I mean, the girls in my class. We're just two girls in the university. Back in secondary school, at that point, you really have not been able to say, you don't, you're not specializing yet. You're still taking all the science courses. So we had both boys and girls until I got to the university and realized that we're just two girls, and then I got this passing statement every time. Well, this is your physics you're studying. After you finish, I'm sure you just go and get married and sit down with your husband and cook for your children and all that. You're not going to do anything with it. And I just smile and I say, wow, no, I'm going to pursue a higher degree in physics. So what are you talking about? And then they just laugh and, it goes off like that. So I've had a bit of experience about, guys teasing you on, why you're studying physics and maybe it's not going to be of use and all of that. But it's okay.
so, Professor Rabia, can you hear
Yeah, I
me?
can hear you.
So, what got you interested in physics? And when you decided to study physics, what was your family reaction? Like,
Okay.
did they tell you it was not for girls or something like that?
Okay.
Did they?
Yeah, thank you very much, Taimey, for the question. The thing is, I've always said this. Whenever I'm asked why, what got me into physics, I always say this about I don't know if I actually went into physics or just physics found me. Yeah, it's something that I've always said because initially I set out to really perform well in the sciences simply because my father wanted me to be a medical doctor. And because he wanted me to be a medical doctor, I knew that I must pass physics, I must pass mathematics, I must pass chemistry, biology. Those were core. So I set out in the beginning to be to have high grades, because you couldn't get into medicine unless you have very high grades in those subjects. But all the same, I've always been like fascinated with physics, because we had this big encyclopedia. My father was a soldier, and then as a retired soldier, he had a lot of books which he acquired from friends he had made, because he was also part of the Allied forces that fought, and then they went to England. And so here we had this large encyclopedia, and it has fascinating things about science, about space, and then I used to look at them. And one of the things that really fascinated me was this relative motion. So when we were children, and we play outside, and then we start walking, and then we felt as if the moon was following us. But because I had already read them in the encyclopedia, that it was as I was moving, it looked as if the moon was the one moving. But the moon may be stationary at that point, and I was the one walking. And the same thing with cars. When we're in cars and the trees, the children will be saying the trees are moving backwards, and I will tell them, no, the trees are just stationary. So those kind of little things were things that really made me interested in physics. But finally, I was not able to make it into medicine, and then I had a choice between physics and geography. But there's this thing about physics. When I do a question and I solve it, I get a full mark. And then okay, there was also the choice of biology, and then I realized biology I will write copious notes, and I was very poor at drawing. So and that was what really said, okay, it's a no-go for me. I wouldn't be able to do biology, but then I can do physics, because I solve the questions and I get 100%. So that was the fascinating thing about physics, and then so I went into physics.
Okay, thank you. So,
Mm.
how do you think girls can cultivate their interest in STEM outside school?
Yeah, okay. If the question is to me,
Yeah.
the main thing, yeah, okay, the main thing, which is what I've been struggling to do, is to make sure that we provide active role models. The fact that there are very few women in physics, tends to discourage, especially if you have a room full of only male students in a particular subject, and then you are just few. When I graduated, there were 21 of us in the final year class, and only four females. We thank God for those males; they were a bit cooperative, so we're able to kind of get their support at that time. But then over the years, we realized that still they considered us, because their voices, if we need to vote on something, their voices will count more than ours, because they were more than us. So when I got into the teaching profession in the university, one of the things I started to campaign for was to make sure that we get more females. And because in 1999, when I was employed as a graduate assistant at Bayero University, the university has already been in existence since 1977, and they had never employed a female in the department. So we were a first set of female. My colleague and I, Professor Fatima, we were employed in 1999, which was like 20 years after. Now, with our support and our encouragement, more females are now in the department. So in total, by 2009, when we had spent 10 years in the university, we had 5 more females employed in the department. But all the same, with a total staff of 41 and only 7 females, we're still within a ratio of 1 to 6. So for one female student, female staff, we have like 6 male. So we're getting there anyway, but it's a slow process. But I'm sure we'll continue to move, and then we'll get more females in this.
Okay, thank you. So finally to Professor Aderonke.
I am not yet a professor, and I have my
Oh,
professor. Please, I
okay.
beg you, just call me Ronke.
Okay.
So,
So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
advice would you give to those girls out there that come from less privileged families, and what opportunities are out there for them?
a lot, a lot of opportunities, I would say. Your background does not mean that your back should be or should remain on the ground. If you have come from a humble background, I think it is that should be the what should spur you into becoming something great by yourself. Okay, so it has to do with you. It has to begin with you, and it has to continue with you. You have to make up your mind on what exactly you want as a child, as a girl child. You have to understand exactly what you want out of life. So if you have come from such category, I would say that it is high time for that situation to encourage you, to challenge you, to step up, to study hard, to work closely towards fulfilling your dreams. Okay. If you think that you have a passion for STEM and you want to, go in that line, you should, make do with every resources available, all the books that you need to read, the links, the websites, everything. You should maximize whatever opportunity you have, and strive, to be the best, because it doesn't matter. We've had stories of people who came from humble backgrounds and they did not allow that to stop them. They never allowed their circumstances to limit them. They decided to do something about it. And today we are celebrating them. So I will encourage girls who have come from humble backgrounds or poor backgrounds to use whatever resource that is available to them for their good. They should work hard and not look down on themselves. They should believe in their dreams because their dreams are valid.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That will be all from my side. So I don't know if
Thank
Madam
you, Taimey.
Anna or Alice has anything to say.
Thank you so much, Taimey. Thank you for those questions.
You're
Um,
welcome.
Professor Rabia, I have my next question is to you. First of all, I'm very glad that you did not go into become a doctor because physics would have lost a huge potential if you had. So what happened? Happened for the best. So on that note, Professor, you have been a role model for many girls in Nigeria and beyond. I read your profile and I was shocked. And I think Aderonke here agrees with me that she's been over the moon since the start of the school as well. So what I want to ask is when you were young, did you have a role model or someone who inspired you to study physics?
Thank you so much, Amna. Yeah, I'm trying, and I think maybe I'm trying to do the best that I can, and yeah, and I'm glad if girls find me to be a role model, and they are encouraged by my story to do more for science or to do more in any field. I would say, like I said, I didn't have a specific role model when I was growing up, except for the fact that I was an avid reader, and like I said, I read about science. I was fascinated. So if I were to say who was a role model when at a very young age, it would be Marie Curie. I was so much fascinated with Marie Curie, but I didn't really know if I was going to like study physics, but because I was studying physics to become a medical doctor. Yes. But even then, I was still like fascinated with Marie Curie because of the role that she played. And then I had this feeling that I was going to become a great scientist, even if it was going to be a medical doctor. And then I heard that she worked with her husband they were working together. So I felt, I was like, okay, I would want to become a great scientist, and then I would like to be a great scientist with my husband, and we can work together. That those kind of feelings. But at the end of the day, yeah, I did get married, and then I had my kids, and then but I didn't. I married somebody who is also like a scientist, because he started with geography, and then he worked with Nigeria airspace and so on. So those kind of things were still part of, but a specific role model when I was growing up, I would just say just my father who encouraged me.
Amazing. Thank you, Professor. And I
Yes.
think I'm going to let the audience know here that Marie Curie was one of the first scientists to be awarded a Nobel Prize in two
Yeah,
categories rather than one,
yeah,
physics,
yeah.
and if I'm not wrong, the other one was chemistry.
Was it chemistry? Yeah, it was in
Thank you.
chemistry.
So, Aderonke, I will have sort of the same question for you. I'm going to start with what inspirational book, film, or website can you recommend to a young girl interested in physics or any other STEM subjects for the matter?
Can you say again? Can you come again?
So, what kind of inspirational book, film, or website would you recommend to a girl interested in physics or any other STEM subjects? And also, are there any role models that inspired you particularly?
Okay, yes, very well. I would start with the Lilavati's daughters. I came across that book many years ago, and it really inspired me, changed my perception of when I read, because most of the women who were featured in that book came from humble backgrounds, but they didn't allow the backgrounds to define what they were going to be. So I read through the book and I drew out lessons, that I still hold dear to my heart today. And those lessons have helped me, to aspire for greatness. So that's one of the books I think I would recommend to anyone who, has a mentee or who wants to pursue career in STEM. Lila Vati's Daughters. It's a collection of biological essays of women scientists of India. And another book is 100 Reasons to be a Scientist. It's a very good book. It was published by the International Center for Theoretical Physics. And in there you have stories of, scientists who have, against all odds, turned out to be great scientists, great researchers, and are really doing well in their field of study. And then lastly, I would say The Hidden Figures. It's a movie. And I would recommend for every girl to watch that movie. It just has a way of bringing out the giant in a woman, in a girl, in a lady, to say you can do whatever you set your heart to do. You don't have to believe in the stereotypes. You don't have to believe in the culture. You don't have to believe, in the gender disparity that we experience every day. You could go for it, do what you want to do, and come out the best out of it. And then talking about role models, I would gladly say I have one with me, Professor Rabia, who has been a role model for me for the past 7 years that I've known her, and also Professor Mrs. Fuwakbe. She's a VC, Vice Chancellor of one of the private universities in Nigeria, and she's also a physicist. Very soft, and very intelligent woman. So those have been my role models so far. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm definitely grabbing a copy of that book and that movie.
Yeah.
So, Professor Rabia,
Yeah.
you have
Thank
a
you.
lot of experience in your field. What do you say is the most exciting project or thing you have worked on so far?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Amna. I'm thinking the most exciting project I've worked on, probably would be, yeah, I was very, very excited with my PhD work, which was largely something that it was something I was really interested in. My supervisor is into electromagnetism, and he wanted me to do a research into electromagnetism, but I was like so interested in looking at just not the abstract of just solving the equations of electromagnetism, and so, but then what how do I apply it to real-time world situations? So, and climate change was a very hot topic at that time. So I wanted to really work on, if we have dust in the atmosphere, what would happen? And then I started to do that research. I ran into a lot of yeah, obstacles here and there. And then finally, I was able to go. I wrote, actually, what I did was I wanted a laboratory where I could go and do some of my analysis, where I would have enough electricity, without any interruptions. And so I kept on writing to different universities. I think I wrote to about 3 universities in the US. I wrote to a university, about 2 in Switzerland. I wrote one in Finland, and I also into Germany. All in all, I can't remember all of them, but I knew I wrote like about 10 applications saying that this is what I'm working on and I need this and this and that. And then finally, one professor who was about to retire, Professor Christian Masler, at the Institute of Applied Physics in the University of Bern in Switzerland. He responded and he said, okay, I head the microwave group, and then we do some atmospheric analysis, and we have a laboratory, we have some analysis of, and we're willing to welcome you if you have your funding, if you have your own funding. We would welcome you to come to the university and we'll accept you. So, and then I was so excited. I wrote back and said, could you send me a formal invitation? With a formal invitation, I would be able to approach my university and say that, okay, I'm doing my PhD and I need to be able to complete it because there's a time limit to complete it as an academic. So my university accepted, and then they agreed to fund me. And then I went to Switzerland and I spent 4 months with a professor and working with the group, and I was able to look at a lot of things. And I think for the first time, that was when I came across MATLAB. And then I found that I could use MATLAB to do my analysis, and then and also that there was even a station, which is the station that measures some atmospheric parameters, which was actually situated in a university in Nigeria, in Ilorin, the Aeronet data. And then I came across that, and then with that I was able to come back, and within a very short time to complete my PhD, and then I was awarded a PhD in 2013. So I think if I look back, that's a very exciting time and a project that I embarked on, yeah, like a determined project. I wanted to finish this PhD, and this is the area I wanted to work on, even if it means that I was going to go it alone. Yes, I wanted to do it, and I did.
Thank you, Professor. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. In case any of the audience is wondering, MATLAB is the computer language that we
Yes.
normally use for mathematical analysis, and uh, it does a lot of things. But to keep it
Yeah, it
simple, it
does.
basically does
Yeah.
designs and
Yes, it does this. Yeah, and you can do
designs
it.
and solves numerical equations for us, along with data analysis.
Yeah.
So, Aderonke, you do space research, and that is super
Yes.
exciting. We hear space and we think about a lot of exciting things. So I want to ask you, what are some of the cool things you and the people in your field have worked on?
Okay, thank you very much, Amna. I work with the National Space Research and Development Agency. It's the government agency that is charged, with the responsibility of building and launching of satellites, and one of the functions of the agency is also to develop satellite technology of various applications, and to also provide space services. Another function is also to encourage capacity building in space science and technology development and management. And NASA operates, in a way that they have centers across Nigeria. And I happen to work in one of the centers, which is the Center for Atmospheric Research. The Center for Atmospheric Research is a research and development, arm of NASA, which is committed to capacity building. It's also committed to research. And we've done a lot of research in different areas. We operate in 3 modes. And one of the mode is research, we have capacity building, and then we have observation. And one thing that you would really appreciate our center for is the fact that we've been able to attract grants in the form of equipment, scientific equipment that we have installed in various locations in our centers. And the aim of this is to help us to observe phenomenon, characteristics of the ionosphere, of what takes place in the ionosphere, both in the atmosphere and of course in the ionosphere. So we have different, sections, different groups. We have the TRODAN, which is the Tropospheric Data Acquisition Network, which focuses on ground-based data. And then we have the space-based data, and that is my area of interest. And one of the things that we've been able to do is we've been able to develop a model that is useful for GNSS, Global Navigation Satellite Systems, error corrections. Because in our field, we realize that the ionosphere is a source of error. And it is this ionosphere that we're trying to understand so we can be able to predict some of its behavior. Like we know that the ionosphere varies with time, it varies with space, with location, it varies with seasons, it varies with time, it varies with longitudes and latitudes. So if we are able to forecast the ionosphere, it will help us, in our ionospheric studies to be able to explain, to people, to end users, what exactly the ionosphere looks like or behaves in a manner on this particular time, at this particular time, to be able to forestall some negative occurrences from happening, so that's what we've been able to do. And that's one very fantastic project that I am very excited to have gotten involved in. And that was what I also worked on my master's, to be able to see how this model that we have developed, we called it NIC-Tech, Nigerian Tech. And then we went further to also, my group went further, to advance a little and to cover Africa. We did first for Nigeria, and then we did for Africa. So as I speak with you, I can confidently tell you, because we have published both articles in reputable journals, and I can confidently tell you that we realized that our model performed, relatively better than, other global models that we're aware of, like the NEQUIC, like the IRI, the International, Reference Ionosphere. So that's one very fantastic project that my center has, worked on in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, Amna, and can I just say something that,
Yeah, sure.
I'm a consultant with the Center for Atmospheric Research, and I'm also one of the team that work on the Tropospheric Data Acquisition Network that she spoke about, the TRODAN. And we also have the Center for Atmospheric Research. We have a laboratory hosting and equipment from that center. That's the space weather and atmospheric physics lab, which we call the SWAP lab, and I'm the coordinator of that lab in my university, and so in collaboration with the Center for Atmospheric Research. Thank you.
Nice, amazing. That sounds fantastic. So, Aderonke, you're also an executive director of an NGO dedicated to science and technology. So, what are the biggest challenges you face in engaging with girls in the field of STEM? Do you think there are any barriers to STEM education for girls right now? And what are they?
I would say the major barrier that we have is funding. It has always been funding, and will always be funding, because if you have, the more funding you have, the more girls you are able to reach, and that will also enlarge, your sphere of influence. And so far, with what the little, resources that we've been able to lay our hands on, we've been able to do, quite a few, research, trainings, outreaches, talk shows here and there. And I really think that, the more you put things in people's faces, the more they get, tempted to want to accept it, because that's what they see. You see, the field of art is the way it is because they put these things to our faces. When you're driving, you're seeing it. When you are on your TV, you're seeing it. Wherever, on the newspapers, you see it. So science needs to be to be advertised. Science needs to be showcased. Science need to we need to give it a public, we need to do PR for science. Let me put it that way. So that's part of what our NGO is doing, trying to it's more like a bait. You're giving out a bait, saying, come, there's something good here. You come and see it, okay? So that's what we're doing. We try to bring out, researchers, scientists to speak with these children, because the more they see these people talk to them, the more they tell themselves, I can also be this person. So that's the need for a role model. That's the reason why we have role models. Talk to them. We try to introduce robotics to them. We try to introduce, electricity, little projects that can, ignite their interest and passion for STEM. Because we know and we understand, the reasons, the gains that we stand to enjoy, with when we have even more females in STEM. Science just has a way of increasing or enlarging your critical thinking capacity. It increases your science literacy, and then, it prepares you for the next generation of innovators. I mean, your country gets better for it, when you have people who are better prepared to face the problems or to solve the problems of the future. I mean, you want to go to bed, feeling fulfilled that you have left people, in the forefront who would take the nation to the next level. So it's still part of nation building when you look at all of it, put together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Aderonke. Thank you so much. Professor
Yeah.
Rabia, have you ever felt under pressure because you're a woman in the field of STEM? And how did you overcome that?
Mm, yeah. I think the pressure is a little bit subtle, particularly where I work. Sometimes it's a kind of feeling. It is not that directly you get you get that pressure, but you can also feel that sometimes when you want to push an opinion, or you want to push a policy which you want to work, you get this feeling that you are not taken seriously, because and you feel that it's because you are a female, and so sometimes you just like push back, or try to see if there's a way that you could liaise with somebody who is male, and then get them to maybe first of all air the particular thing that you want, and then you go ahead and support, or you already have something in place that, and then you say, okay, can you support me in these and these when I bring it up in a meeting? And then when you bring it up, the person supports you, and then at the end you still get the feeling that probably the decision was taken not because you brought it up, but because a male supported it or something. So those kind of pressures are things that you feel. It's not glaring, but you get to feel that. And then also there's the pressure, there's the obstacle that you feel that you are not given the encouragement to get to the peak, because already there are more males there, and they want that position. So somehow, it's difficult to give you the chance to get to the top, where you are the one making a decision. And I think that's one of the things I've been trying to pursue, to get to a point where you are in a decision making position. Yes, most times you will find that females will be made the deputy of something. You have the head, and then you are a deputy of that head. And we need to get to a position where the women are the head, and then the men will sometimes men will be the deputy, so that you don't feel like you're only assisting, but you have gotten there to be the decision maker. Thank
I'm
you.
pretty sure, Professor, if anyone can do it, that is you, and you are already almost there, and we're already there actually. So I would
Yeah,
like
thank
to
you.
conclude this. We'll be going towards our concluding remarks. So, Professor Rabia, to conclude, what piece of advice are you advice will you give to girls approaching STEM?
Yeah, the advice that I've always given them is that now they need to be able to take advantage of all that is there for them now. When we were starting out, we didn't have some of the resources that are available today. There was no specific international day for girls, women and girls in science like we have now in February. There wasn't an international day for women. Just factoring in, and just like yesterday, I attended a webinar which was talking about gender, more gender in nuclear policy, for example, and the decisions that the organizers of that event are making in such a way that they make a pledge that they would not attend any event which is just single gender, that so that they can encourage, if there's a board which is all male and they are invited to maybe contribute to that board, they will decline because it's just it is not a gender balance. And so with all of this, I want the young girls to take advantage of this time where there is so much support for both for girls and women to participate. And but then they should also know that it's not going to be like easy. They have to put in a lot of effort. They should do their best. That is like put in their best, not just sit back and say, okay, maybe it should be given to us on a platter of gold. They need to put in their effort too, so that they are not found wanting. And then they would say, okay, you see now you are saying females and this, and then they are there and they are not performing and they cannot do it. So I want the girls to take advantage of what is available, the encouraging environment, and go ahead and pursue whatever field that they want in STEM. And now it's even been, in addition to just STEM, A has been added, which is arts. So in some organization, they say STEMA, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and arts, because we have found that technology these days cannot do without arts. So it's becoming multidisciplinary. Even science cannot do without art, because we want to portray some of our things and it needs to be drawn or it needs to be expressed in certain ways. And only the arts would help us in that. So it's something that they need to marry together. So even girls, if you go into STEM, you can also go into the arts and then link up. There are a lot of things that can be done. So I actually encourage the girls to go out for it, and they can search. It's like at their fingertips these days. They can search for anything. We had to go into libraries and sift into dusty books to get a lot of things, but now they can just click and then they will get. So they should take advantage of this new things that are there and then do the best that they can.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
completely agree. We have the resources, we have the time, we just need to put in the effort. So, Aderonke, same question to you. If you could give a piece of advice to the girls approaching STEM and, as Professor said, arts, what would that be?
Whatever you put your heart to do, you can achieve it. Or whatever you put your heart to achieve, you can achieve it. Go for it. Pursue your dreams. Your dreams are valid. And do not allow anybody to talk you down. Let your head be raised and let it be there. Don't let anybody, talk down at you or your dreams. Your dreams are valid. And I would say that in science, be available. Be available. The men cannot be in the laboratory and you take an excuse not to be in the laboratory and you want them to take you seriously. You have to be available. You have to be found on your duty post. You have to write that paper. You have to read that paper. You have to write that report. Don't cut corners. Try, give it all that it takes. And the sky will be your starting point. And be ready for opportunities. Seize every opportunity. Even if you don't have an idea of how to go about it, take it first. Then you learn how to do it and deliver. So I would say, let nothing stop you. And one very vital key as girls in STEM, and as you progress, and as you get to a point where when you think that you want to have a partner, if you want to have a partner, you should consider someone who is in line with what you want to do, who accepts what you do, so that it will be easy for you. Because one fundamental problem we face and we see in the decline of women in science is that once they get married, some of them pull out of the system due to partners who are not supportive, partners who do not understand what they're doing, partners who would not want them to progress. Go for someone who is interested in you, who is interested in your dreams, who wants you to go higher in your career, and who is not intimidated by your success. Go for someone who would work with you as a team to accomplish, the goals and the purpose that you have for each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aderonke. Thank you, Professor. And on that note, I'm going to end this discussion from a quote from Marie Curie, since we mentioned her today. Life is not easy for any of us, but what of that? We must have perseverance, and above all, confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained. Thank you, both of you. Thank you, Taimey. Thank you to the team for joining us today.
Thank
What we've
you.
done today will stick with us for a long time. You both are inspirational women, and I'm sure all of those hearing have been inspired.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.